Furious world leaders have delivered a humiliating gut punch to Donald Trump after Donald Trump announced his ludicrous idea of creating a phony peace board where he invited Vladimir Putin, Lukashenko, Orban, and other authoritarians to join in order to destroy the United Nations and NATO. French President Emmanuel Macron says, "No way are we joining this ridiculous peace board where we have to pay you $1 billion, then you're going to take the money and put it in some Qatari bank account and that you get to decide all of the rules. We're not doing it." Then you had the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, say, "No way, we're not doing this." He goes, "Poland's ascension to an international organization requires the consent of the Council of Ministers and ratification by the Sejm. The government will be guided solely by the interest and security of the Polish state, and we will not let anybody play us." Donald, even Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom, who's been a little bit passive when it comes to Donald Trump, been strong on defending Ukraine, but weak when it comes to Donald Trump, in my opinion. But I get he's got a lot of constituencies he's got to deal with. He says, "No way, we are not endorsing this ridiculous peace board thing. I'm not sitting on a committee that has Vladimir Putin, Lukashenko, and Orban." You understand? Now, as Alex Wickham explained as well, Trump's tariff threats for any country that does not support Trump's invasion of Greenland has also turned the British far right, their Reform Party, against the Trump regime. Even Nigel Farage in this interview with MAGA Mike Johnson is like, you realize that what Donald Trump did is like absolutely the biggest threat to the UK and to Europe in general for like generations. I mean, you have Nigel Farage standing up to Donald Trump. Just think about that. You have the German far right extremist party, the AfD, standing up to Donald Trump. I mean, Trump is uniting everybody against him and his dastardly ways, even the far right extremist parties and all members of parliament, frankly, are looking at what the Trump regime is doing as absolutely idiotic. Now, this also takes place as Denmark has deployed more troops to Greenland. We saw those huge deployments coming in yesterday and the day before as well. And I think if you look internationally, you're seeing just across the world, everybody recognizing what a complete and utter betrayal this Trump regime is. I mean, like Japan talking about how Donald Trump and the United States have failed to deliver promised weapons to the tune of billions of dollars that Japan says it was promised. Obviously, the Iranian people were told, go and protest against the Ayatollah, and we got your back. And then Donald Trump doesn't have their back. Thousands are killed. Gruesome images that we're seeing right now on social media, protesters gunned down and massacred by the Ayatollah, as Donald Trump does nothing at all. But Donald Trump says, great news, I stopped the Ayatollah from hanging 600 more people. Shouldn't I get credit? You go to Syria right now. Donald Trump has completely thrown the Kurdish allies in Syria under the bus. I mean, you have the Syria Democratic Forces in the north, along with other groups that were fighting ISIS with the United States. Donald Trump has utterly thrown them under the bus and has allowed al-Julani or al-Shahar, the now leader of Syria, formerly the head of ISIS, right? The former head of ISIS is now leading Syria right now. And the Syrian government forces have completely wiped out the Kurdish areas. Like, Kurdish sovereignty has been utterly destroyed as Donald Trump has allowed the Syrian government forces just to completely destroy the Kurdish areas. I mean, as you look at what's going on right now, even in Iraq, Iraqi forces are now preparing on the border as a result of Kurdish refugees now fleeing. And not even just that, the fact that when ISIS or the Syrian government forces attacked these Kurdish areas, they released a lot of the ISIS prisoners that were being held by the democratic forces, by the Kurdish multi-ethnic forces that have been allied with the United States. So I think it's important that we focus on what's going there in Syria as well and Donald Trump's utter betrayal. I mean, let's just take a look at what's going on, though, as you hear from some of these politicians. Let's take a look at what was going on in the UK Parliament yesterday. As a member of Parliament, she warned the world and, frankly, over Trump's imperialist approach to Greenland. And she wanted to know why the UK government is not being tougher. Let's listen to what she had to say here. Let's play this clip right here.
Greenland is being offered two options: to be sold or to be annexed. This is naked imperialism. The government of Greenland has made very clear that they will work with the US in any way that is necessary to protect our security and that of Europe's. But I'm afraid that beyond vague diplomatic assurances of diplomatic activity and claims of being hard-headed, as a result of today's statement, I am not any clearer on what the government is doing to keep us safe from these tariffs, but more importantly, to protect our security and the sovereignty of Greenland.
Now I want to share with you as well what another UK member of Parliament did, calling out Donald Trump's gangster politics. This was in the UK's Parliament yesterday. Let's play this clip.
Donald Trump's appalling threats to seize Greenland, along with his disgusting bombing of Venezuela, are a new form of gangster politics that are set out in his new national security strategy, which also speaks of boosting support for the far right across Europe. We have to deal with that reality. And Trump's threats of tariffs this weekend show how little we can rely on the so-called special relationship. So I want to ask the Foreign Secretary, instead of blindly following US policy, as we have all too often done in the past with disastrous consequences, isn't it now time to stand up to Trump and forge a new independent foreign policy based upon international law, peace and cooperation, important values that are the very antithesis of what Donald Trump stands for?
Now, this was when far right-wing Nigel Farage, speaking with MAGA Mike Johnson, play this clip.
I mean, this is the biggest fracture in our relationship between our two countries since Suez in 1956. This is serious. And you're here about to speak before Parliament. I mean, is there nothing that can be done here?
Well, I'm here to encourage our friends and calm the situation. Maybe it's providential that I happen to be here right now. This was not planned.
I think it'd be wrong luck for you, actually, hasn't it?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Look, I think we're going to get beyond this little rift. I don't think it's a threat to NATO or to this special relationship that we have in the long run. The president greatly values NATO.
More from that Nigel Farage interaction with MAGA Mike Johnson. Let's play that clip right here.
Trump, I think he has deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. He's ended 7 or 8 conflicts and wars around the globe.
He seems very keen on that.
He does, and it's well earned. In fact, there's a number of persons of my colleagues, speakers from parliaments around the world, who will be nominating him jointly, I think, for the next Nobel Peace Prize. But this issue in Greenland, I think, should not be a disruption to all of that. I think we'll get past this. I do.
Well, let's hope we do get past it. Otherwise, it genuinely would be a rupture.
The world may feel like it's metaphorically on fire right now, but we also have to make sure we keep highlighting one truly existential issue that still isn't getting enough attention, and that's climate change. Because this is no longer about the distant future. This is urgent, and it's happening right now. A major new report warns that the environmental crisis is arriving decades earlier than scientists once expected. I want to highlight this new article in The Independent. It's called "Climate Change is Here. Experts Warn Environmental Crisis is Decades Ahead of Forecasts." Be sure to check this out. So according to experts, the extreme events we were once told to expect in the 2050s and beyond are already here. Last year was the 3rd hottest year on record, and the World Meteorological Organization says that 2025 has continued a run of extraordinary global temperatures. The EU now warns that the Paris Agreement's 1.5-degree threshold could be broken before 2030. Samantha Burgess of the Copernicus Climate Change Service put it bluntly. She said climate change is here, and we're seeing events today that models once predicted for the middle of the century. The oceans absorbed more heat in 2025 than any year in modern records. We've seen an increase in wildfires. The Atlantic saw 3 Category 5 hurricanes in a single year, including Hurricane Melissa, which intensified rapidly because of warmer seas, leaving communities with little time to respond. Research from the Grantham Institute shows that climate change has tripled heat-related deaths during European heat waves. In the global south, the impacts are even more devastating and often underreported, with deadly floods in Pakistan and severe drought across across East Africa. The International Federation of the Red Cross warns that these disasters are piling on top of existing crises, pushing vulnerable communities to the brink. And even in what insurers like Swiss Re call a, quote, quiet year, economic losses still approached historic averages. These are not normal conditions. I want to be clear about this. This is the reality of climate change now. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make it clear that you care about these issues because we're going to keep covering them and we're not looking away. Okay, Ben, back to you.
Then you had Rasmus Jarlov, a conservative member of parliament in Denmark, on CNN, and here's what he had to say. He's like, we're going to war with the United States. Here, play this clip.
But what if this is America today under Trump, regardless of its history? And by the way, he's president for 3 more years and has other leverage to hand. For instance, he could, and he's threatened before, to remove U.S. troops from Europe. He could, and he's threatened before, to stop all U.S. aid to Ukraine. How far is Denmark and how far are your allies in Europe willing to go to defend this red line you're setting?
We will, of course, defend Greenland. If there is an invasion by American troops, it would be a war, and we would be fighting against each other. We know that the Americans are stronger than us, and you have a much stronger military than ours, but it is our duty to defend our land and our people, and the 57,000 Danish citizens that live in Greenland that have made it absolutely crystal clear that they don't want to be taken by the United States. We have an obligation to fight for those people, and our forces will do that. But it would be a disaster also for the United States. We know this is not you. It's not who you are. But even for the very, very few people in the United States that don't care about what is right and wrong, and that you can't just take your neighbor's land just because you think you need it, even for those people, this is a very, very bad idea. The business case of taking Greenland is terrible because you already have access to it. And if you annexed it, the only thing you would get is more expenses. You would have to run the country. You would have a population that would never recognize that you own their land. And you would have to do all the things without all the things that Denmark pays for today. We're paying a lot of money for Greenland. We're not making any money on it. We're paying a lot of money for defense. We have invested about $14 billion in the past 2 years in drones, ships, satellites, troops on the ground, helicopters, everything else that you could want up there. Why would you want to take over that expense? Why not work together with us when the door is wide open? You have access to Greenland. There's no expiry date to that access, and you can put as many troops up there as you want. But Greenland is not threatened by the Chinese or Russians. We have kept them out, and they're in no way about to take over the country.
Share with you right here the chief of Denmark's Joint Arctic Command. Here's what he had to say. Play this clip.
Compared to other NATO partners, how tough are the conditions up here?
It is very, very tough. And that's also why we have to train up here.
The Danish commander in charge tiptoes around the politics of it all. As a NATO commander, are you personally surprised that a NATO partner could be threatening another NATO partner?
I will not go into politics, but I work perfectly together with the US military. We have done that for decades in Bosnia, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and we do it also today.
As a Dane who suffered a lot of losses in Afghanistan, as many per capita as the United States, is it disappointing to you that we're in this position?
Frankly, it is.
And then going to Greenland itself, you have the Greenlandic politician Tilly Martinson. Here's what she had to say. Powerful words that she said as well. Play this clip.
We don't really value cash and Kardashian lips and fake boobs and stuff like that very highly. Actually, you cannot even own land in Greenland. You can get an allotment for your house and then you own the house on top of the land. But Greenlanders don't believe in the land is for one person, is for everyone. And so is the seas, like the riches that we have there. So it's a big miscalculation that he thinks that Greenlanders would be incited by cash or something like that. We're not. And even if you were to say like $100,000 per person or something like that, We wouldn't give up free healthcare. We wouldn't give up free education. We wouldn't give up being a part of Europe. We wouldn't give up on our sovereignty eventually.
Then the French and German finance ministers held a joint press conference about all of the options on the table in terms of counter tariffs against the U.S., the nuclear option, the trade bazooka, shutting down trade with the United States and treating the United States as a coercive regime. Here's what the German finance minister said. Play this clip.
Maybe you wonder that we both arrive here, but we had a very good morning in Berlin. We had a workshop. We had a good French-German meeting, and we were talking about how we now can strengthen Europe and what we can bring together to Brussels. And this is really important because we're both convinced this is a very European moment, and we should really work together when it comes to decisions now in Europe. And it's also the personal friendship, but also it's necessary that our two countries really work together in this situation.
Here's what the French finance minister said here. Let's play that clip as well.
We are living one of those moments where Europe has to be strong. Europe has to step up. As I think we both agree, we're living through uncharted territories. We've never seen this before. An ally, a friend of 250 years, is considering using tariffs. We don't like tariffs, but certainly we don't like using tariffs as a geopolitical weapon. We don't want tariffs to be weaponized, and they mustn't be so. So we've had a great discussion this morning. Obviously, we're going to find ways of discussing it with our colleagues today and tomorrow. Europe has to step up. Europe has to be strong, and Europe has to make sure that the threats that have been imposed don't become reality. And for this, we need to be able to show that we're willing to use all the instruments we have at our disposal, whether they are tariffs, whether they're the trade agreements, whether they are anti-coercion measures. And what we want to say today is that France and Germany agree on the willingness and the absolute necessity to react strongly and swiftly. Also, this shows that we need to go further. We need to go stronger. We need to make sure that Europe deepens their power, deepens their market, and makes everything about the revolution that's taking place now an asset for Europe. We need a deeper market. We need more innovation. We need more innovation on the financial markets and on the banks. And this is the reason why we met this morning. And we're very happy that we're going to keep on grinding to make sure that Europe remains and gets stronger and stronger.
Now, Donald Trump believed that he was going to be announcing his Board of Peace at Davos in Switzerland, which is taking place this week. Lots of world leaders are arriving. Trump wanted to announce it on Thursday. And I should be mentioning that California Governor Gavin Newsom will be heading to Davos in Switzerland in order to represent basically the pro-democracy forces in the United States and be there as a counter to Donald Trump's authoritarianism and fascism. We will keep you posted every step of the way, as always, of course, on the MeidasTouch Network. Do me a favor, make sure you hit subscribe. Help us get to 6 million subscribers here. And we appreciate you so much for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.